Jets hold their breath while Steelers Nation has yet another young wide receiver to get excited about. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Tuesday, August 16th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback today, but potentially not in week one, is the Jets' Zach Wilson. Wilson suffered a bone bruise and a meniscus tear in New York's first preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he'll undergo arthroscopic surgery Tuesday with top surgeon Dr. Neil Elatrache. While it's believed to be not as bad as initially feared, that was a mouthful, our Dr. Edwin Porras basically said this was by far the best case scenario based on the mechanism of the non-contact injury. Now, Wilson's expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks after the surgery, but ESPN's Adam Schefter reported he can miss additional time if the doctors find that the tear is worse once they start the surgery. Again, it appears that Wilson avoided a more serious injury, but it's still an ominous start to the season for the Jets, who lost 2020 first-round pick Mekhi Becton to a season-ending knee injury just a few days before Wilson's injury. And per Dr. Porras, it was clear from camp videos that the Jets' medical staff didn't exactly care for Becton. It was clear that he wasn't healthy, so it's been a bizarre couple weeks for that Jets medical staff, and fans are crossing their fingers that things are not much worse with Wilson. Now, while Wilson was not very good as a rookie, his raw talent was evident, and the flashes were enough to get even skeptics excited, much like Josh Allen's rookie season in 2018, though, of course, Allen's flashes were more spectacular and more frequent. And like the Bills with Allen, the Jets acknowledged that for Wilson to develop, they needed to build around him. They spent money and draft picks to improve literally every position on offense around Wilson, so they're committed to the bit. Heck, even after losing Mekhi Becton, they spent to acquire veteran Dwayne Brown to play tackle, which could well be an upgrade on Becton. Wilson has been off the radar at his current ADP of quarterback 27, except in 2 quarterback leagues and best ball drafts, and there's a chance Joe Flacco could see a start or 2 to open the season. Meanwhile, I'm not adjusting the rankings of the rest of this offense yet. Say what you want about Flacco, but he should be able to keep things on schedule until, and if, Wilson returns. And if Wilson's injury is more severe than anticipated, remember that coach Robert Saleh and offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur have Jimmy Garoppolo connections from their time together in San Francisco. Starting today at running back, and potentially for the entire season, for fantasy teams and the Saints, is Alvin Kamara. Now, Kamara is still in legal limbo following an arrest on felony battery charges when he was in Las Vegas for the Pro Bowl in February and got into an altercation with another man. The NFL CBA calls for at least a 6-game suspension on such charges, but the NFL also likes the legal process to play out first. NFL insider Adam Schefter told our John Hansen on a podcast that you must check out on our YouTube feed, by the way, or anywhere you listen to podcasts, that it seems like Kamara will avoid a suspension this season as his attorneys continue to push back the trial. Kamara's next court hearing won't be until September 29th after lawyers ask for a delay in early August, and Kamara's representation will look to kick the can down the road for as long as possible to get through the 2022 season. Let's be honest. The NFL cares about optics and optics alone. It's possible Kamara could avoid a suspension this season as long as the surveillance video of the attack doesn't surface this fall. His ADP has climbed back comfortably back into the second round, around RB12, but this is still the first year he's fallen out of the first round since his breakout rookie campaign in 2017. Let's look at what remained to be the facts. While Drew Brees is indeed gone, he was gone last year too. And Alvin Kamara still led the Saints in both rushing and receptions in 2021. Yes, the Saints receiving core was so pathetic that Kamara managed to miss 4 games and still lead the team as a running back in receptions with 47. Yikes. In addition, Kamara averaged 19 carries and 5.5 targets per game in Jameis Winston's 6 full starts in weeks 1 to 7 a season ago. Kamara was a true bell cow, playing on 83% of the Saints snaps over that stretch. Meanwhile, Kamara's career finishes by fantasy points per game are as followed: RB4, RB4, RB8, RB1, RB7. He's one of the greatest fantasy players of all time. He's still in his prime, and the competition behind him is non-existent. In my mind, he's still a value in the second round. At our other running back spot, we have someone whose ADP will continue to plummet. The Commanders' Antonio Gibson got the start in their backfield in the preseason opener. That's good. It's great. The Commanders' Antonio Gibson, who led all non-quarterbacks in fumbles in 2021, lost a fumble while playing with the first team. That's bad. It's real bad. The Commanders' Antonio Gibson also ceded passing down work to the re-signed J.D. McKissic. That's insult to injury, but it was expected. The fumble is, of course, the most noteworthy item here. Gibson had 6 a season ago. Remember, he's a converted wide receiver who isn't used to having to deal with a pile of bodies every time he touches the ball, and the fumble he lost was a bad one for a running back. He failed to protect the ball while going to the ground in a sea of bodies, allowing a defensive player to punch it out. Coach Ron Rivera was obviously not pleased with Gibson, as his punishment, I guess, for the fumble included more snaps with the second-team offense than he had with the first. Meanwhile, rookie Brian Robinson, a third-round pick from Alabama who excels running between the tackles, played as advertised. Robinson had 6 carries and 2 targets, scoring a touchdown, and if you were playing preseason DFS, like a lot of sickos, 12.1 fantasy points. He did cede passing down work to McKissic, which means this could very well be an ugly 3-man committee. This is an extremely basic opinion, I admit that. But if I'm drafting from this backfield in 2022, I'm going to take Robinson or McKissic late and just ignore Gibson. I'm not sure there's a ton of upside for anyone here, though, as Carson Wentz is notoriously checked down averse, and the offense might not be very good on account of the fact that Carson Wentz is the quarterback. Robinson's touchdown potential does stand out to me, though, because I have to imagine that Rivera will not trust Gibson in a situation where 22 men are at the line of scrimmage and he has to navigate those bodies. In our first wide receiver spot is a guy Yinzers can't stop buzzing about. I hope you got your shares of the Steelers' George Pickens earlier this offseason because things are going up. His extremely impressive first preseason game isn't going to help you sneak him through in your home league, and especially in sharp best ball drafts for the rest of this month. With Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool getting a day off for minor injuries in the Steelers' preseason opener, the rookie Pickens, almost certainly the team's wide receiver 3, caught 3 of 5 targets for 43 yards and a score. The touchdown, of course, was a thing of beauty. While Pickens beat rookie quarterback Kobe Bryant, yes, he does wear number 8, Bryant was able to recover and did have relatively tight coverage, forcing Pickens to the back pylon. Pickens perfectly tracked a good throw from quarterback Mason Rudolph, hauled it in over his shoulder, and toe-tapped both feet inbounds for the score. It looked like a catch you've seen so many Alpha X receivers make in the past. And it was a catch that had Yinzers all over the country, standing way too close to their televisions, staring at the screen while bobbing their heads at a very uncomfortable spine angle. It's hard to forget now that our Greg Cosell adored Pickens' tape. Cosell wrote that Pickens, quote, fits the profile of an NFL boundary X receiver. He's explosive both off the ball and into his route step. He eats space in a hurry with stride length and build-up speed. He ran by SEC corners. He has outstanding ball skills, making tough contested catches. In case you haven't really picked up on that from, the quotes, he was Cosell's favorite wide receiver prospect in the entire draft. Get more in our prospect guide, by the way. Moreover, we know the Steelers have the right algorithm for drafting wide receivers. Pickens had some vague off-field concerns that likely dropped him out of the first round, but the Steelers think the atmosphere coach Mike Tomlin has created is perfect for developing him. The wager here is that Pickens' price explodes. On August 2nd on Underdog, he was wide receiver 73. He's now wide receiver 61 and rising. As for my long-term takeaway, I feel like the Steelers drafting 2 wide receivers in August, Pickens and Calvin Austin, while extending Deontay Johnson just a couple weeks ago, is writing on the wall for Chase Claypool to put up or shut up in 2022. after a disappointing 2021 campaign. In our second wide receiver spot is another rookie, but one who hasn't gotten off to a hot start. The Titans are expecting Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. That's not a controversial statement. They acquired the first-round pick they used to select Burks from Philadelphia when they traded Brown to the Eagles. They literally traded Brown for this pick and then selected Burks. Ergo, replacement. Easy. And those who liked Burks, including our Greg Cosell, thought he had some Brown to his game with his size and yards after catch profile. But things haven't exactly been smooth for Burks. Some didn't like his tape. Some thought he didn't test well enough at the combine, though in my mind, 4.5 speed at 225 pounds is just fine. Though, of course, he was in and out of minicamps during the spring with conditioning issues, complicated by his asthma and allergies, and his first training camp as a rookie has been up and down. In the Titans' preseason debut, Burks wasn't a starter and continued to play into the fourth quarter, well after the likes of Fitzpatrick, look at these names, Des Fitzpatrick and Racy McMath, who sounds like the lead character in a children's educational video game, came off the field. This isn't a great sign, of course, implying he's at best third on the depth chart behind Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, but potentially fifth on the depth chart. It's still very early for the rookie, but this does seem to support all the mostly pessimistic news out of camp and our Scott Barrett's initial evaluation of Burks, that he's not quite NFL ready. He ended his day with 0 catches on 21 routes run. Now, it's obviously not all Burks' fault, and we can't bury the guy. PFF's Kevin Cole dug deeper into Burks' performance. He noticed that a pass was thrown on just 12 of Burks' 21 routes, and often Burks was just used as a downfield option, while QB Malik Willis threw the ball underneath. Cole also noticed Burks running open downfield when Willis didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason. Look, we went through this song and dance last year with Jamar Chase. The preseason and camp aren't everything. Of course, Burks isn't Chase, and Ryan Tannehill isn't Joe Burrow. Admittedly, I have not been drafting much of Burks because I've liked other players around his ADP more, and I think the Titans could really take a step back this year. But if the negative reports continue to pile up and his ADP plummets, I may have no choice but to buy in. There is opportunity here. In our flex spot is a guy who entered the league in the same draft as Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon and is in a new home this year. It feels like we've been down this road in the past, but Raiders veteran running back Ameer Abdullah is pushing for playing time as he eyes the, quote, James White spot in Josh McDaniels' offense, press eyes Albert Breer. The Raiders then rested both Josh Jacobs and Abdullah in their second preseason game, which indicated they're at the top of the depth chart as the early down and passing down back, respectively. Remember, they played both in the Hall of Fame game, and playing Jacobs was bizarre at bare minimum. Abdullah when playing with the Panthers last year, Abdullah quietly had 24 catches in the final 6 games of 2021. So there's a chance he could carve out some PPR relevance if he can hold on to the role. It's further confirmation that Jacobs will be used mostly as an early down runner, while Kenyon Drake is completely off the fantasy radar with his roster spot in presumed jeopardy. Again, the idea of Abdullah has always been greater than the reality of Abdullah. But he plays special teams, returns kicks, and can contribute as a receiver. That is a skill set that the Belichick coaching tree has always valued. We're not screaming from the mountaintops here, but you could probably do worse with your last best ball pick, especially in full PPR formats like Best Ball 10s, Drafters, and DraftKings. I'm Joe Dolan, and this has been the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. Head to fantasypoints.com for all of your fantasy draft needs and use that code LINEUP22 for an extra 10% off any package. You want to get in this year, trust me, we are growing fast. It's going to be awesome. And by the way, the aforementioned rookie prospect guide, including all of Greg Cosell's rookie evaluations and Wes Huber's Devy profiles, is already discounted a further 60% in celebration of the start of the fantasy football season. Catch you tomorrow, everyone.